Make sure you don't look at the monitor.
I'm not gonna look at I'm gonna look at you.
Okay, I'm ready.
I'm ready too. I'm excited. That's weird. Like once you press go, the excitement hit me. I've been pissed all day.
Nice.
Oh, kind of getting emotional. It's our last episode.
Are you gonna cry?
Do you want me to? I'm excited, guys. Thank you for being here once again. This is the Get Paid to Live podcast. This is our last episode of the season, and it's weird. It's like so weird. I never
thought we'd make it this far.
When like honestly, this kind of started as a joke, so it's crazy that it's gone this far. And not just that, but like it kind of means something to both of us now, and it feels real. Like the dreams are turning into reality. Yeah, and your bitch loves chatting, so it doesn't.
It's your perfect job. Right
it's my perfect job.
You're getting paid to live right now. Well, I guess we haven't made any money, but theoretically,
yeah, mentally, that's what's happening.
You're getting paid in positive reinforcement from the community.
Thank you, guys. First of all, anybody who's commented, subscribed, liked anything, like, thank you so much. And it really makes our day, because when you're doing things for no reason, it's really nice when people are affirming you and giving you positive feedback. So like all of the feedback helps, positive, negative. We've only had like a few negative comments, but honestly, I was just pretty open. I'm like, tell us straight up. Don't go too crazy. But
we're learning.
And I want to make it an enjoyable experience, because I want people to feel less alone in this journey of an asymmetrical life.
I don't know what that means, but
I kept saying that. Ali Abdul said it, and I keep saying it, but I don't know what it means, but I'm assuming it's just like people doing what we're doing. And anyone going through this journey, I just want to keep saying that again. Like, it's very hard to find people who you can talk to and relate to. Like, we're literally the only people who like get each other on that level. So I just hope that this is like a place where you feel heard and seen, or at least your thoughts are being repeated back to you or something. So anyway, we have lots to talk about today, but we're going to try to keep it short because we talk too fucking much. So for anyone who's new, my name is Iffy and this is Shaw. We're married. Hello.
We're married in Nigeria.
We're married in Nigeria. No, I'm just kidding. We are, how do you say we're engaged?
Yeah, we're engaged.
Okay. We are engaged. I mean, that didn't just happen. I don't know how to present it, but basically we're fiancés, okay? And
co-fiancés.
We're co-fiancés for the Get Paid to Live podcast. And we started this back in, we started filming in September, but it officially came out in October. So it literally hasn't even been that long, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's 6 weeks.
What?
Right? Yeah.
Because it was October 20 something. Like, it was
Today's
late.
the 15th. Oh, okay. So maybe like a bit
2
more
months.
than 6 weeks.
Yeah. 12 weeks. Something like that.
Not 12 weeks. Wait, 7 weeks.
Yeah, I'm not good at math. Anyways, we started this podcast a little bit ago, and we both quit our jobs this year, like our 6-figure incomes this year, to pursue our dreams.
2-0.
Yeah, and
we're in our freshman year.
We're in our freshman year. We like to call it our freshman year, and we're documenting this process for people like us. And you could be an entrepreneur, you could be a dreamer, whatever you want to call yourself, just people who are going after what they want. And we're excited to be here with you guys. If you haven't seen our past episodes, please check those out. Very resourceful. I think we're going to be building on a lot of those topics anyway. And yeah. Okay, one thing I wanted to do was a sub count. I want to look back at this, and I want everyone else to look back at this. And I want to talk about the fact that we have 100 and, as of right now, we have 134
really
subscribers.
Wow.
Blows my mind. On my personal channel, it took me like 6 years. I'm just kidding. It took me a long time to get to even like 200.
Right.
And I quit my job with 200 subscribers. So like, I just want to say, like, that's insane that there's that many people. And
it doesn't seem like it's anyone from like either of our audiences.
Yeah.
It seems like a whole new audience.
Right. Yeah, that's what's interesting too. It's not just like our mom and our sister and brother. Like it is, but also not. And that's what's shocking, you know. So just thank you for being here, and we're just excited. Share it with your friends. I'm not saying share it just because I want you to share my podcast. I'm saying share it because if there's anyone you know who feels similarly to you, I couldn't sit with this feeling. So if this makes you feel less alone, maybe it'll make them feel less alone. So yeah, I'm just excited that we've gotten through our freshman year of entrepreneurship. And
we're getting there, because I feel,
or we're halfway through the semester.
Yeah, I think we're coming up on our first semester.
Yeah, okay, because we started this in the summer. I feel like you quit your job
in July,
even though our bio says April. Ignore that.
You left in April.
I know, but I just, for simplicity, I just grouped you in there. So it's been, and that's really when I started like actually pursuing my consulting business that has now burned to the ground. So now I'm just a full-time content creator, but we got here and I always thought like, oh yeah, looking forward to 6 months from now, I'm gonna be so rich and famous. Like, boy, was I wrong.
You're gonna be broke and busy.
I'm broke and busy. That's a theme going into Q4, because
Q1.
Oh my god, I keep saying Q4. Q1 going into Q4. Oh,
that was a really good example.
I'm telling you, I can't talk today. But anyways, going into Q1, Q1 next year. I think it's because it's 2024. Q4. My head is.
Oh, I see.
I'm dyslexic, so I'm kidding.
Cancelled.
In that spirit, I wanted to do a little game.
Okay.
And I wanted to talk about something that shocked you. And I'll do this too. Something that shocked you going into this, like starting this podcast and where we are now. Like, what's one thing that blew your mind?
That's a good question. I guess the easy answer is the traction, like so early on. Because like you said, the time it took my YouTube channel to hit 100 subscribers, it wasn't like 6 weeks.
No.
It was much longer than that. I guess kind of peeling back, like going one layer deeper, like peeling back the onion a bit more. The fact that these ideas make sense to people is kind of shocking, because it doesn't, I feel like we kind of arrived at these ideas like so iteratively. Like we went so far down a rabbit hole to kind of arrive at this. It's kind of mind-blowing that we can like talk about it in like this natural conversational way. Yeah. And people, like, it makes sense to people.
Yeah, because we talk to people around us the same way and they don't get it. Not all the time. But first of all, if people were understanding what we were saying, we wouldn't have started the podcast. Yeah. So the fact that it is making sense to people, and the fact that we're not, I'll just kind of say mine. Like, okay. I guess I'm there's like two parts, like internal, external. Externally, I'm shocked that like, it's kind of making sense to people. And I'm shocked that like we're not having to put like crazy amounts of work into it.
Right.
That's what's kind of shocking.
It's kind of like, you know, like 4 hour a week, 8 hour a week kind of commitments. I mean, it's a lot less for me, but
right. I do like the producing of the podcast, and I guess that is a lot of work, like to edit and post everything and organize everything and make the scripts and stuff. But I just thought it would be a lot harder. Like when I went into podcasting, I was like, how the hell do people get reach? Like, how do you, it was his great idea. Baby. Clips. It was his good idea to put this on YouTube.
And I just got it from Joe Rogan.
Yeah. So I think I literally, you and I feel like we're both just looking at what other people did and be like, okay, we're going to make it our own, but like I'm just gonna guess and see what other people do, because it's not an intuitive thing. I'm an ex social media manager, so most of the social medias are like very familiar to me in some way, and this podcasting world was just not something I had a lot of experience in. I listened to a few here and there, but I'm not like a podcast person like all the time, so I don't have a lot of reference. So the fact that it was like kind of seamless, that I think that was shocking to me. And then internally, I'm always impressed with like how happy I feel like doing it, like sitting here and talking. I'm not gonna lie, I do prefer the in-person, face-to-face podcast more than the virtual ones, just because like I feel like it's so completely different. And I hope one day that like we can actually do in person with our guests.
Hopefully next year.
We think we're gonna do like a little bit of touring, I don't know, but I do like that aspect more. But it's just I'm always shocked with like how fun it is, like when I'm doing it. Because like today I was having like a really blah day. Like I was doom scrolling last night. I was feeling anxious. I was feeling like doubtful, and I haven't really felt like that in a while. And I just woke up tired and having to do things I didn't want to do, get work done. And I'm like, man, that sucks. So I'm like not going to be in the zone I want to be for our last episode, which makes me excited because I'm thinking back to the older episodes where I'm like, man, I'm always so happy when I do it. And yeah, so just even today, like right when you press record, I was like, I just got magic. Energy. It is magic. That is weird. So yeah.
And all we did was just have our normal conversations, but we set up we did a bunch of unnecessary steps beforehand to have the conversation, setting up these mics, setting up the camera, the lights. And
I can't wait to talk about how unnecessary things are.
Wow.
I can't wait to talk about that. That's a little preview sneak peek for season 2. Get paid to live, baby.
Is that our new theme song?
So we always have a special drink. We're always drinking drinks, by the way, all the time. So, and I love how we just kind of knew to get our own drinks every time for the podcast. It just happened.
Yeah,
naturally.
I'm just tired.
Yeah, he always needs caffeine. So I need to calm down because I've been anxious. So I need to calm down. I have a chamomile tea. This one from Rishi, fire, the best chamomile tea in the game.
It's crazy.
And it has like you can see the chamomile, like it's so earthy but good. And you put a lot of honey. I put a lot of honey. Fire.
It's a cool vibe.
What about you?
Mine's pretty simple. Just ice, espresso from the Nespresso.
So it's there's no milk?
Yeah, and then I added like the fat-free Fairlife. So just like a basic iced latte.
Not the fat-free. Cool. Okay, so let's get into today's episode, like our main topic. We're going into the new year, baby. Okay.
2024.
2024. We survived, and as most people do, and as we always do every quarter, we set quarterly goals.
Yep.
So today we're going to really talk about goals, like what they mean, how we set them, and kind of reflect on our first semester into entrepreneurship and talk about our plans and like what we want to improve on for Q1. I'm not trying to sound like different or like a pick-me, but I do feel like how I've approached goals in the last few years have been really transformational, and I think they work more than I've ever had.
How you do it now, how you did it 2 years ago?
I feel like I started this kind of like 2 years ago.
And it's been developing.
It's been developing, but it's not just any old goal setting. Like I feel like it's more intentional, and I feel like the more we do it, the more it just gets better and better.
Yeah, it's like, a skill set.
It is a skill set. Yeah, it sounds such a it's like it's such a basic topic.
Yeah.
But even within such a basic topic, there's so many little nooks and crannies that you can use to improve. So I do feel like it is something that people can use and use for their goals to achieve their dream life. And I think it's been working. And really this semester, I feel like our goals have been working. So I want to get into all of that and talk about how you can, live your dream life in 2024.
Right.
Yeah. Good name.
Live your dream life in 2024.
Yeah.
Boom.
Boom.
That's how that'll be the preview to start the podcast. We'll just start with you yelling boom.
New year, new life, bitch.
2024 secrets, confessions of a freshman entrepreneur.
That's cute. What did I just say?
You said boom.
No, what did I say? Live your dream life in 2024. What? Okay, so let's get into it. Okay. So goals. What are our goals, honey?
What is goals?
And
we were talking about this earlier this week, I think. But we were just like reflecting on Q4 goals.
Yeah.
Like when this came up. And I was realizing that I had this goal for myself to get 20 hours a week of client work going into Q1. And I realized that I'm probably not going to hit that goal because I have 0 hours of client work and it's December 15th, but we never know. But the point of the goal wasn't to get the client work, I feel. The point of the goal was to improve my consulting skill set, my kind of project manager, product manager mindset, that strategic thinking, the product development mindset. And setting that goal was just an excuse to develop that skill set. And it's because like I kind of got into this mode where like, oh, I need to get better. I need to get on client calls. Like I need to, like, I felt this sense of urgency to, you know, hit that goal. And in the process, I sort of inadvertently just got better and better at taking discovery calls, at kind of thinking through client problems and like kind of sifting through what clients are telling me to get to the core business problem that they're facing, and ultimately, you know, try to suss out solutions to those problems. And so this is actually something that, you know, I first heard from Ray Dalio, who he had a book, has a book called like Principles, I think that's what it's called. And he said something to the effect, I'm paraphrasing, that goals are essentially an excuse for us to grow.
Oh, he said that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought that was from you.
No.
Wow. Okay.
Well, I'm paraphrasing. I think he worded it slightly differently. Maybe you can like pop it up. He has a quote on it, I think.
And who is he?
Ray Dalio is like a super successful investor.
Oh, okay.
He runs Bridgewater and Associates, or ran Bridgewater and Associates.
No, I like that. I mean, I don't know why I attached this quote to the David Beckham documentary.
Yeah,
but
I don't think it's a new idea.
Yeah.
I think people have known for a while that the point of a goal isn't necessarily the goal.
Yeah, I didn't know.
It's just one of those lessons you just have to learn.
Right. This is the part of the iteration I'm talking about, because if you watch the David Beckham documentary, I don't know what it's called. I think it's literally called Beckham. Okay, Beckham. And it's on Netflix. Super good. Like, and I'm like, even for the girlies, like, it's a good movie. It's a good documentary show, docu-movie series. And in the show, he's basically showing like all aspects of his life, when he grew up, and you know how he grew up, and basically like how he became the soccer player, footballer that he is today. And I always just like love like movies or documentaries that kind of show people working at a craft for a very long time, because I admire it. Like, I'm not somebody who's ever done that, but I've always wanted that for myself, and I haven't been patient enough to, you know, pursue one thing for a long period of time. So I was just like loving it, eating it up. And then there was something that he said in there, I don't know what episode, but he was like, the game of like football is just an excuse for them to keep playing.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, like I just felt like, okay, something clicked there. Because and if you watch the documentary, you'll see like he loves the sport. Right. Like, it's not about the fame and the winning. I mean, I don't know, but like it seems more about the craft. And I love that when people are just obsessed with their craft, because it has nothing to do with the outcome. It has nothing to do with the output. It's about the process.
Right.
And that clicked with me, because I'm like, the whole getting better and performing or being the best, all of that stuff, it's such a waste of time to put all your energy into, because you can't necessarily control that. You can influence it with how you achieve those goals, you know, how you go at them, how much effort you put into it, but you can't guarantee it. And I don't know, I love that. And I think we should all start taking that into account. Like, your dream life exists whether you're like achieving it or not, right? And it's like, when you tap into like living that dream life, whether it's you're doing like school, like you're pursuing the subject or the career or whatever, like, it's just so that you, like, once you tap into it, you're tapping into it. There's no like, you need to tap into it enough until you can feel the effects of a dream life. Like, once you decide to do it, you're doing it. Like, and I think that didn't click with me. I'm like, oh, I have to get to a certain follower count before I can feel the reward of being, you know, a YouTuber or being a TikToker. Like, once you say it, once you decide, once you're making the action, you're doing it. And then you can start like, you can allow yourself to feel like the reward of doing it. And I don't think you have to like get to a certain level. And like, levels, I think, should be more as like a bonus than the focus. And that's so different than how I feel like goals, how we learned about goals. Right. Because it was always
just how they seem.
Because it was always like, yeah, you need to get to the goal. And that's the point. I want to lose 20 pounds. I'm going to enjoy when the 20 pounds are off of me. That's when I can start living like somebody who's losing 20 pounds. Right. But like, once you decide, you're already in the process. That's the point.
Yeah. And the person that you have to become in the process That's the real reward. Totally. Not so much like whatever like quantity or metric that you say, like lose 20 pounds.
Right. That's a whatever. That's like a,
but being a person that is able to lose 20 pounds, especially if you've never done that before, that's a huge accomplishment.
Yeah. And I think that's like, take the focus off the goal, put it on the person that you want to be, the dream life that you want to have, right. The like lifestyle, the person, the traits, the characteristics, that stuff lasts. The goals, they will come and go. You're going to achieve them and you're going to be like, what else? That's just how we're wired. We want more. We're never satisfied. Yeah. But what you can consistently be satisfied with is like a skill that you have, right. And keep getting better at that. But you can still enjoy the skill as you're building it. But like, I think we focus so much on the goal that we forget that that's not even the point. It actually is like so not even the point. If you set a goal for yourself, I want to be a YouTuber. If you really dig deeper into that, what does that make you actually want? Is it the results, or is it the fact that you want to have a place to express yourself? Or it's a place, it's finally where you can build a community. It's finally where you can start a brand. Like, get to the bottom of what these goals are about, because that's the point. Because you can be building a brand with or without 1 million subscribers. Yep. You can be building a community with or without 1 million subscribers. I mean, look at us, right, you know? Right. So it's just, I think that just kind of changed my whole perspective on it.
Yeah, and I would say like the last thing I'll say, just putting this a different way, is that a goal just gives us something to focus on. It's almost like a distraction.
Yeah, it's a good distraction.
It's a good distraction where, like, if you were to just naturally focus and move toward that point, like ahead of you, you're going to inadvertently achieve all the things that you want to achieve, obtain all the things that you want to obtain out of life.
Yeah. I feel like the goals they give us, they give the uncertainty and the confusion of the process like a house. It gives it structure. Right. So like you can actually enjoy it. You know, it's a tool. Yeah. The goal is a tool. Yep. It's not the moment though.
Right. And it's just a framework.
It's a framework. It's kind of like it's a template of some sort. Like, you're not going to copy and paste and like you can only be happy when using the template. It's just a guide. Yep. Just supposed to help you do what you already want to do. It's giving what you want a reason, because we want more practicality, predictability and familiarity, and it's just giving us that comfort while we pursue something that is very uncertain. You know, I wanted to put the definition of goals on the screen, and I wanted to say it because I think when we define things, a lot of times we start to realize how silly we've been like thinking about it.
How silly we've been.
Yeah, we've been. So the definition I found, I don't know who I found it from, so I'll put the source, but it's the object of a person's ambition or effort, an aim or desired result. This is an example of it used in a sentence. Going to law school has become the most important goal in his life, which I feel like that's an even misguided sentence. And that's why I feel like we're so confused on goals, is because that's what we learn.
It's one of those like off the shelf goals.
Yes, exactly. And it's like, does he want to go to is law school the most important goal of his life, or is helping his community the most important goal of it? Not even important thing in his life.
Or to make his parents proud.
Yeah. That's probably what the goal is actually about. But I want to talk about it's the object of a person's ambition or effort. So to me, when I thought about that, I'm like, object is like a tangible thing. Okay. So, and I think it goes to what we were saying. It's like the object of the ambition. It's not the ambition. So I think when you get that twisted, and we tend to think about the object more than the ambition, we start putting more emphasis on the object, with your consulting. If I don't hit that 20 hours, which is the object of his ambition to be a better consultant or a better business person, whatever, then you will start, one, you're not gonna truly maximize the process, and two, you may not even be satisfied with getting the goal and then life after getting the goal. But if you're focused on the ambition more than the object, I feel like you tend to reflect on that a little bit more. You tend to be more grateful, I think, during the process. And when you're grateful and you're feeling positive, I feel like you're open to more information. You're interested, you're curious, instead of being too hyper focused on one thing and seeing it negatively. I'm not losing 20 pounds, or I'm nowhere close to that. Then your focus is so narrow that you're not taking in all the things you're learning. Okay, sure, you didn't hit your 20-pound goal like right when you wanted to, but what did you learn about how you like going to the gym, what you like to eat? Now all these things that you've had to do on that process become learnings. They become lessons that you can use for the rest of your life. The ambition is probably to be a healthier person or to feel better. And you do have information on that, no matter if you reach the 20 pounds or not. And I think that's why it's important to like look at you, like question your goals. Like question where they come from and why, because I think you'll start to realize that there's more of an ambition behind it than you think. And sometimes you'll realize, I don't want this at all. I just think I want this, but this is what I actually want. There's a quote from this book that I wanted to. Okay. I was reading this book called Purpose. And there was a quote in here that I thought was really helpful. She was talking about going on quests. And even though the book is over, like I'm on the last chapter, she was saying this is just the beginning of, finding your purpose. So she said, Lev Grossman, he wrote in his book, The Magician King, he who completes a quest does not merely find something, he becomes something. And I think that is like everything we're talking about in like a few sentences. Basically, the quest is not to achieve or get the diamond or get the money or get the followers or the fame. It's so that you become the person that you want to be. And I learned that concept in Atomic Habits. That like rocked my world, which is like make your habits even based on the person you want to be, as opposed to just that seems like a cool thing to do. Because I like that because I feel like it's tapping into your future self. And I think future self is a very powerful concept. And I want to talk about future self really quickly. Okay. I don't have like a formal definition of it. I've heard about it from other people, but basically how I picture it is like your future self is like it has like all the answers to your dream life. They know, they're already living it. They know everything. And it's someone you can look to as a guide. And I think it's an important, just like you have mentors externally, like people that are not you also have like a mentor within yourself. Because it's just an excuse for us to do what we want to do. We just want to like picture some all-knowing guide who has all the answers, but it just makes us feel more affirmed in our belief and helps us actually do it, right? So who cares if it's true? It's like if it works, it works. And I think it's very helpful when you're setting goals to think about that future version of you who has everything you want, because if you have everything you want, you're not typically thinking out of scarcity. You're not thinking out of I have to be, or this is what's popular, or like you're thinking out of like, oh man, I'm living the life, I'm doing what I want to do. Would future you take this job or this deal that makes you stressed out but gives you a lot of money? No, they already have a lot of money. They wouldn't take anything that stresses them out. Would they have goals like I don't know, like would they have goals like buy a Lamborghini by the end of the year? No, I mean they can buy that whenever they want. They already have it probably. Like I think it kind of just sets these like shallow-ish goals,
and it allows you to like act like your future self, and by acting like them, you become them.
Yep, you become that person, and that's what the journey is about. I want to bring up one last example. Alex Hormozy, he was talking about he's told his story a million times. It's probably all over his platform, but basically he's an entrepreneur, owns very successful
private equity
firm, and he talked about how he basically lost everything from his business at one point in his career, and he didn't have anything tangible left. Like I think he had to live with his now wife at her parents' house or something weird like that.
I think they were just visiting them. Okay. But yeah, he had lost everything.
He lost everything, basically zero. And so I think like his business partner stole money from him and all this stuff.
Yeah, it seemed like a series of unfortunate events.
It's a tragedy. Anyway, I want to talk about that because
but what he had, even though he had lost everything, he had all the lessons and the knowledge he had learned over the past like 5 or 7 years or whatever it was.
I thought that was really that was gold, because I think we think like a lot of times in our journey achieving the goal that if we don't have anything to show for it, that everything's a waste, everything's a loss. And it's a very huge thing in entrepreneurship, because you're gonna lose more than you gain for a long time. And so if you have this perspective that because I'm not gaining physical tangible things, that I'm losing in general, or I'm not meeting my goal, you're gonna have a terrible time. Like same way with your consulting losing. I've thought that way, like, because I'm not getting followers, because I'm not getting brand deals or money or clout or whatever, I'm losing. But the things that I'm learning in this process of losing, the things I'm learning in this process of editing or putting myself out there or having to communicate my message, that's for life. You're going to have those skills for the rest of your life. So you can choose to see them as like a waste of time, or you can choose to see it as your greatest gifts. And in that moment, I think he took everything he had learned from the past however many months of him doing his business and turned that into years of him doing his business and turned that into like $1 million in like a month, didn't he?
I think he made like 100,000 or 50,000. Like,
oh, right. Okay. So
basically like it finally clicked.
Yeah. Okay. So he was like at that low point with nothing. And then I think like a few months later, he figured something out.
I think what it was, he like just he was able to max out a credit card essentially and like make $100,000 in 1 month.
Yeah. And it's like, that's the stuff that's the value. That's the value that came from him doing whatever he had to do in those years, even though he was like losing or whatever. And then eventually, I think it was like 6 months later, they turned that into like $1 million in a month.
Oh yeah. They were making like, I think like 10 million, something ridiculous every month.
And it's like that knowledge, that suffering, that pain, it turns into something if you let it.
But yeah, just knowledge and like the person you become. That's
valuable.
The most valuable thing. Not the like the valuation of your business, your monthly income, like anything like that.
Yeah, it makes me think of that show, Undercover Billionaire or whatever it's called.
Yeah, right.
It's basically, I haven't watched the show, but Shaheen did. I'll let you explain it actually.
Oh, essentially it's like, okay, you've got, well, I actually don't remember if it's like 60 days.
We actually have, neither of us have seen the show.
I don't remember if it's like 60 days or 90 days, but they kind of like drop like a billionaire in a random like town and they give him 90 days with like a truck and $1,000 or something like that.
And some rope.
Yeah. And they have 90 days to build $1 million business.
That's like, and okay, so I wanted to talk about that show because if you can build something all over again after losing everything, that's how you know you're focusing on the right things. You're using the skills and the resources that you have, regardless of if you hit this number or this goal or whatever. That's the importance of it, because those millionaires or billionaires?
Billionaires.
Those billionaires, didn't you say like most of them were able to rebuild?
I think the season I watched, they all did it.
They, by the end of the 90 days, they got to $1 million.
$1 million business.
$1 million business. And it's like, that's how you know you can do it over and over again. Yeah. Because you have the traits are now within you. So I just think that inspired me to be like, okay, it's more about what skills have I learned? Yeah. Because you can always use a skill again and again and again in different areas of your life. So that's really helped me. And I think it's helpful to hear. So now that we have an idea of what goals are and what they should be, let's talk about how you set them. Like, how do we actually make them work for us? But first I want to address like something that I feel like comes up as friction when you're setting goals, especially as a creative entrepreneur, just a dreamer, whatever, because we have all these big, high expectations, all these big goals, dreams. Big dreams. And it can be intimidating to even start when you're like at zero. And I've heard this from people, but I don't necessarily feel this as much, but there's little pockets in my life where I feel it. Sometimes as a creative, you tend to like hate structure. You think it's going to take away from your freedom or your art or your craft or like whatever you're doing. And I want to offer a different perspective that can help combat that mindset, because it's not that it's like bad or evil to think that. It's just, I think it's just ignorant of what it could be. Because actually, and I think most people will agree to this, when you give yourself structure, you feel a little bit more free, at least a little bit.
It's like, what is it called? Writer's block, or kind of like the creative block you get just looking at a blank page. You know what I mean? Yeah. But if like there's already something started on that page, it's a lot easier to just kind of pick up where, just riff off of that. You know what I mean? It's like, for me, I'm a musician, so like writing a song from scratch is a lot harder than like writing a bass line for like someone already playing a riff.
Yeah, it just helps you get started. And that's the thing. People who are successful, they are not the most talented. They don't have all these crazy gifts or wizards. They just get started. So if you're feeling stuck, and you have goals, but you just refuse to set them because you think that, if I don't say it, then I can't fail, I think that's going to prevent you from even getting anywhere with that goal or anywhere with that lifestyle that you want. And I think that does have a little bit of a perfectionist taste to it. It's
waiting for like perfect conditions.
Yeah, and they won't come. Trust me, I've tried it. It's not going to come. You have to push for things, do them imperfectly, do them messy. Even if the template is not useful the first day, maybe the second day it opens doors for you. Like coming back to things, like normalize iteration and coming back to things and sleeping on it and talking about it, then coming back and then not feeling it and then coming back and feeling better. And it's like, it's little by little, but the point is just to get started. It doesn't matter how it turns out, just get started. And
this is from a perfectionist.
This is from a perfectionist.
A recovering perfectionist.
Do you think I'm a perfectionist?
I think you were more so than you are now.
Okay, that's good. It's good to know I'm improving. Why do you say that? I'm curious.
I don't know, just like a vibe.
Because how would you know that?
Maybe going back to like swab days and like how organized and structured you were.
Yeah.
Like even back then, it was something that stood out to me.
What stood out to you?
Just like how structured and organized you were about the events. And I feel like there was a bit of tension because I was more like, yeah, you want to plan, but you don't want to plan too much. And you're just like, you can't over plan. That was like your mindset, I feel.
I was a little crazy. I still am, but I think I let things get done messy more than I used to.
Yeah.
And I start even when I don't have everything mapped out. This podcast is like a perfect example.
Right.
Me 3 years ago would have never started this unless I had an outline for the first 216 episodes. So anyway, I think sometimes, okay, so one thing I made up. It's low-key clever, but I said, don't hate the structure, play the game.
Wow.
And that phrase, I think it kind of unlocked a little bit of play, which is what our second episode is about, and how important it is, and you should play all the time, every day. But when you're confined, when you give yourself structure, you don't even realize that you've just been playing the whole time. Like when you
give yourself a sandbox.
Yeah, exactly. Like kids don't realize that they're just playing for hours and hours, but they're getting shit done.
Right.
Whatever shit they're clanking together, they're getting shit done. And I think it just gives you room to start. Just start it. You're never going to get to the goal if you don't even start the damn thing. And don't deny that you have goals either. Don't even be like, no, I don't have any goals. Don't try to be humble.
Yep.
You have goals. You're just too scared to start them because you think you have to do it perfectly, and you don't. Actually, there's probably no one in this planet who's achieved a goal and it started out perfectly. Like the whole way through. It's just not even possible. So you might as well just give it a go.
And then part of this is like just doing it, but another side of it is just being able to set the right goals for yourself. You know what I mean? Like when you're setting goals and just like consistently failing, like part of that is that you need to grow and learn more. Yeah. But another side of that is you may have set the wrong goal, or you may need to develop your skill set of goal setting, because you can get to a certain point where you can I think at least is like you can get really good at goal setting where you're always like you're consistently hitting your goals, but that's just because you're setting the right ones at the outset. And then I guess that kind of leads into like, how do you set goals? Right.
How do you set goals? Okay, I want to hit on a little bit of that, like choosing the wrong goal and what to avoid, because I think in the past I've done this a lot. It's one, like we were talking about before, setting like no goals and trying to have this like just broad general
but the thing is, like when you don't pick a target, this is like a nice quote from Arnold Schwarzenegger, like you need to have a vision, because if you don't have a vision of where you want to go, you're just gonna like float around and not really go anywhere, you know what I mean? You're just gonna like randomly meander about and you're not really gonna get in any one particular direction. Or you just might end up somewhere you don't
even want to be. Like and then you end up going after someone else's goal. You have no clear picture of what the one that you want. So I think that is not a great approach of just like, I'm gonna just have this general, I want to get to the next step and I just want to grow and evolve. Like, get specific,
or just take that one step further, even if like you don't necessarily know what it looks like. Just kind of stop and think like, okay, I want to get to the next level. What does that mean? What does that look like? Why is that important to you? And then just ask yourself these questions to try to peel back the layers of the onion.
Right. And I think at the the heart of the onion is going to be that real desire for something.
And I think that's part of like the skill set of goal setting, to be able to quickly get to the core of what it is that you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like goal setting is actually not about like how fast you're achieving them or hitting them. It's more about like understanding where you like what's aligned with you in the moment and how to set them for your skill set, your interests, your desire. That's a good point. And then I think the other one, so avoiding like a no goal situation, and then you also want to avoid like these half-ass goals.
Okay.
Like that don't really have like they don't make the next steps clear. Like I want to be rich.
Yeah, just ill-defined goals.
Ill-defined goals, and it's a part of SMART goals. You know, you want to be specific, measurable, achievable, and then timely.
Yeah.
What is the other one? It's not relatability.
I don't know.
I don't know what it is.
Responsible.
Sure. Yeah.
We'll throw it up on the screen.
It's kind of like these I see the ones that like half-ass goals, like they're either half-ass because you're refusing to think about it a little bit more, or they're half-ass because you're just stealing it from someone. You're just taking it from something you've seen.
I want to go to law school.
Yeah, I want to go to law.
I mean, to be fair, some people like
I actually want to go to law school, but you have to think about going to law school is a sub part of the bigger
goal, right? A bigger vision.
Yeah, it's like reframing your brain to think a little bit deeper. The big picture, right, which is your vision of how you want to see the world after you're doing what you're doing. Maybe your vision is to see equality amongst immigrants coming to America. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's your big picture vision. And then going to law school is a step for you to do that, you know? And I think the half-ass goals, if you have these kind of like flaky, I don't know about these goals, or just like, it sounds nice. It sounds like, oh, I saw somebody on TV do that, or like a YouTuber I watch, like they have a lot of subscribers, so I want a lot of subscribers or whatever. I think you have to just, again, like question why you feel that way. Maybe there is some validity to it, but you won't know until you go deeper. Yeah. So if you were like, I want to be rich. I want to be rich. How rich? Because that's a huge question to ask yourself. Anytime you're like, I want to be rich, or I want some kind of dollar amount, some figure, some factor figure. How much of that? Okay. And
how rich do you need to be?
How rich do you need to be? Why? Why do you need to be rich? Is there something else you want to do with that money?
Yeah.
Another big one is like, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to start a business. And a lot of times when people say things like that, they want something else, you know, like they want to be an entrepreneur so they can get rich. And it's like,
it's not a good way to get rich, to be honest. It's
not the best way. I would recommend anything else.
Yeah.
Because you can, for what you want, does it actually require you to be an entrepreneur? You know, you don't make your customers and your employees' lives miserable if you just wanted 2 off days a week, and that's why you're an entrepreneur. Like, just, you know what I mean? Like, just take some time to think about why, like keep doing the why questions. I think there's like a 7 whys. Oh, 5 whys. Okay. You ask yourself each level, why, and take yourself through that exercise. And if you can't get down to something that makes sense, maybe that's not the goal that you had in mind. So,
yeah, that's important.
Yeah. So for the big finale, how do you set the freaking goals? How do you set them in a way that serves you? Were you going to talk about OKRs?
Yeah. So, I mean, there are a lot of ways to set goals.
This is not like a one size fits all. These are just how we found works for us.
I feel like what I was doing in Q3, what I did in Q3 was I set 2 levels of goals. One level was things that I wanted, but I couldn't control. And then each of those had like another layer, like a sub layer, which was things that I could control that would lead to that thing I couldn't control.
Oh, interesting.
So one of the goals that I wanted but I couldn't control was getting 1 client through inbound leads, like that were coming from my content. So I can't control like clients, you know, working with me through inbound, you know, but what I can control is how much content I make. So what I did was I set the goal of making like 2 pieces of content a week, like a blog or a video. And through doing that, I eventually did hit that goal of getting 1 inbound, closing 1 inbound lead and getting a contract.
Inbound, by the way, means like the clients find him.
Yeah, the client found me. So they actually read my blog on topological data analysis, which is a shock to me. Someone read that, and then they booked a call with me, and then we eventually worked together.
Mm-hmm.
What I did in Q4 is kind of like almost an evolution of that. It's like another version of that, and it comes from this book called Measure What Matters, and it lays out this whole goal setting framework called OKRs, which stands for objectives and key results. So these are also like a 2-layer system where the objective is like a more vague kind of like goal you can't really obtain directly. And what you do is you set associated like key results, maybe like 3 to 5 key results with each objective that are things you can control, like things that are quantifiable, more of the SMART goals.
Okay.
And through doing these like key results, you should naturally achieve the objective.
So which that's kind of like what you did in Q3.
Yeah. Okay. It's very similar. And it kind of goes back to this idea that goals are just a excuse, just a distraction. And so in this case, the objective is kind of the goal, kind of like the distraction, the excuse, and then the key results are kind of the things you do along the way
that get you the results.
That get you that objective.
Right. Results and the objective, it seems like.
Right.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good way to put it. It's like it's a way for you to kind of have that like dreamer, like I want my goal.
So the objective can be more vague, can be more aspirational, can be more fuzzy, but then you have to go that next step and be more pragmatic with the key results, be more realistic with the key results.
Yeah. I like doing habit-based goals. That was kind of my strategy, I think, for the past year, which again came from Atomic Habits, and which is a book by James Clear. And how I structured it was like, based on who you want to be, work backwards so you can undoubtedly become that person. Right. So my goals are based on the person I want to be. So tapping into my future self. For me, I see my future self as somebody who has an audience. I see my future self as somebody who knows another language, who works out often. She travels a lot. She has a strong community of people. And then from all of those high level goals, right, I can break it down into smaller practical things. So it's basically
very similar.
Very similar.
These things aren't mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the key results, I said, like putting putting out 2 pieces of content a week, like you can translate that into a habit, which is like work on content 4 hours a day kind of thing,
Exactly. And so like, I think it's just a way to think about it.
Yeah, exactly. It's a framework.
And for me, like if I want to be a YouTuber, because my future self is like, she creates content through YouTube, her audience is mainly through YouTube, then I'm going to, take that down into, all right, to be a YouTuber, I need to be posting. Yep. Okay. And then do I have that habit? No, I don't have the habit of posting. What do I need to do to be in the habit of posting consistently?
Right.
Because someone who posts consistently on YouTube is probably a YouTuber, and someone who is a YouTuber probably has an audience. So I've kind of like broken it down back to the very last step of even beginning that process. Right. And that's the goal I set for the quarter. So like me in the past, before I even was posting on YouTube, it was just like, okay, create one video.
Yep.
Not even a posting schedule or nothing, just like make the damn video once a month or something very low hanging so that I could get into the habit of doing it. And then over time I would increase that. So like now it's gotten to the point where like I'm posting once a week, and then I threw in another one.
Seems like you're posting more than once a week.
I threw in another challenge of doing Vlogmas. That was a random side curve, random side plot that came into the picture. So now it's like more 2 or 3 times a week. But so you see the point. It's basically like you just kind of work backwards. That's how I've set goals. I kind of started with, I want to be a YouTuber first, because I didn't want to just say I want to have X subscribers.
Right.
Because, and I want to talk about the difference between the two, because if I said I want to have X amount of subscribers or 100,000 or whatever, it doesn't guarantee that I'm becoming the person I want to become. Because you can have a lot of subscribers and do be any kind of way. But if I don't have that skill or the consistency of being a YouTuber, then to me, I'm not going to be fulfilled with just having a subscriber count, and I don't have any of the attributes of a YouTuber.
Yeah, like it's kind of like someone who posted a video and kind of got lucky. Yeah. And then it kind of like fizzles out because they didn't develop the habits they needed to develop to be that. And there was a great book. It's called What I Learned Losing $1 Million. And basically the guy's saying how he just got lucky his whole finance career until he finally lost basically everything. And that's when he like finally started to learn like how to actually be good at it. So like the failures are actually a gift.
Yes.
And you actually need those in order to become that person, in order to develop those habits that are necessary to continue being successful.
Yeah. And I think that's why I'm like, I know if I got like the $1 million or the millions of subscribers or whatever, and there was nothing I was proud of internally, I would not be satisfied with it. So that's why this is actually one of my like goals in life, is to be like a full-time YouTuber. And this is something I see myself doing for a long period of time, like my whole life. So I do want to be a YouTuber. In my mind, that has more of a definition. So big picture is, yes, I want to have an audience, but if I take it a scale back, I want to be a YouTuber. So now that I set that kind of like over
like high level objective.
Now that I've set that higher level, it's not the highest one, but it's a higher level goal.
Right.
I can take it a step back. What does a YouTuber do? What are the traits of somebody who has this many subscribers? Instead of I want this many subscribers, if you know, we all have like a count that would sound nice. If you have that in mind, like what are the traits of somebody who has that? You know, and then that's what I think about. Okay, they probably post once a week. They probably network with creators. They probably make time to script and plan their videos.
Right.
And then okay, if I pick one of those, hey, if I need to post once a week, okay, what do I need to do to post once a week? Then it becomes extremely obvious what my next step for Q1 is. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I just wanted to like break it down that way if you want to see it visually.
Right.
And
then
I
think that's good.
because I did a TikTok video on this goal setting format that I do, and I can't find it. It's in there. I just like
lost
can't.
In the sauce.
It's lost in the sauce. And I'll try to link it. I think it helped people see how you can take your higher level objectives or goals and break it down more. So I want to make a point of like embracing your goals too. You set them, yes, but they're new. If you don't have any plan on how to nurture these goals, I think they're just gonna get lost in the everyday life, everyday old habits and blah blah blah. So I want to talk about some things that I feel like we do to keep nurturing these goals. And one thing is we meet quarterly to talk about,
and then check in every 2 weeks.
So we meet quarterly to set the goals and make sure that we have them, and then naturally we're meeting every 2 weeks, so we're checking in on the goals and we're setting at the same time. So like we are each other's accountability partner with the goal. But I feel like when we moved in together, it became a bigger thing. And when we left our jobs, I think we were both like, we need to
get it together.
We need to track something because we have no idea what we're doing. Like I think it just gave us some kind of structure, and I think reviewing your goals consistently is important. Because it's I don't want to say impossible, but you can't tell the future. You know, you can guess, but you don't know. And it's not that you can't tell the future, but like if you're gonna hit it or not. I mean, that you have a lot of influence over, but sometimes in the moment or the season that you're in, you're not 100% aligned with the desire yet. Like you set the goal and it may not fit. Like there was things that I set, even like the habit-based practical things that I set this quarter for myself, that once I started going into the quarter, it just didn't make any sense.
Right.
And if I was trying to force it, it would have made the other goals 10 times harder. And I think that's what we set them in the beginning of the quarter, but we come back every 2 weeks and just talk about updates. How's it going? And then you and I can call each other. I'll be like, that doesn't really seem to match with what you're doing.
There were like 2, maybe even 3 goals that I just crossed off my list because it didn't make sense.
It didn't make any sense. I had the same. And make sure it matches your values. Like every step of the way, because that's something you forget. Like we think, oh, I set this with great intentions, and you probably did, but like with you during this quarter, you realized like your rush or your need to fulfill that 20 hours was taking you away from your values of like learning
and
giving, relationship building, all these things. And that's why the values are such good guardrails, because you forget, you get in the grind, you keep going. So just come back, review what you put down and make sure it still matches every step of the way. It's okay to change it because it's just a distraction. It's not the whole point. So another thing that I think to embrace your goals is to start small and then build up. Like you were saying with your habits, I feel like he's really good at building his habits like one by one. And that's why he has like this beautiful synchrony of just habits and
maybe like
a lifestyle.
7 years to develop.
Yeah, because I think people look at his schedule and his lifestyle like, what kind of drug is this man on?
Yeah.
And he's not on any, but I think
it's
caffeine. Just caffeine. But I think it's just been such a slow and iterative process. And I had to learn from him a lot in that department, because I was such a perfectionist that I would set.
You would try to jump like 6 steps ahead. It's like, no, just try to add one new thing.
I would set like a unreasonably ridiculous routine for myself, like from day and night. Like on January or December 31st of whatever year to January 1st, I would expect myself to become a workout queen. She's a reader. She is a scientist. She's also a mathematician on her free time. Like I would just set these ridiculous goals for myself and I would be pissed. I'd be like, God, why did I wake up late again? Knowing that the past 365 days I've always woken up late. And it's like you have to really start small. So, and I've learned this even as we're doing it now, like from one quarter to the next, even I just increase it just a tiny bit, or I don't increase it at all. If something's working, it's working. Right. Like I tend to journal 5 times a week. Am I going to just, because I got that down, I'm going to just like increase it to like 7 immediately? No. I mean, if I feel kind of at my capacity with that goal, but it is important to me, I'm just going to keep it there, because if I know I'm already adjusting this other goal, that other goal, it's going to be too much. And just when in doubt, do less. Because you're going to always set these, you're going to be like, oh no, I can do that. Oh, I can wake up early that day. I can start working out. That's not that bad. Honestly, working out 1 time a week, that's not that bad. I thought that and I couldn't even do it. Like with everything going on in your life, you're going to think, oh, I got that. No problem. But when once you wake up on Monday morning and the goal is looking at you, you're going to wish that you had just not even put the expectation that you were going to do something ridiculous. Because then you just
get like
discouraged. And there's nothing worse than like you're in the middle of January and you haven't done a single thing because you just set these unrealistic expectations for yourself. So don't do that, and just take things one habit at a time. Like add one thing at a time. And if you think you can do something, make the goal even less. Like when in doubt, just make it less. And then the last thing I'll say is hard launch your goals. And people might have something to say about this. Huberman fans, I already know what you're going to say. Don't talk about your goals because
don't tell anyone.
You're going to get the dopamine hit and I know, but I do feel there is a magic that happens when you claim these goals. Like you don't just kind of like keep them in this like corner of your room. Like you have them physically somewhere, or people know, or you will look stupid. Like I think you kind of need that.
Like it's there. I guess there could be different reasons why you hard launch or kind of share your goals. If you're just trying to share your goals to, look cool or whatever,
don't do that.
Don't do that. Even if you don't mean to, and you kind of just inadvertently do that, just kind of be mindful of that. But really, the best case scenario is like having accountability partners. Because what you really want to leverage is social pressure, because that is incredibly powerful for like nudging our behavior in a certain direction.
We do things. We do wild things for the sake of like, oh shit, other people are going to see. I have to get it done.
So, I mean, I feel like you can get pretty clever with that. The simplest thing is just have one person that you could be accountability partners with.
What?
I was just thinking like, I don't know, maybe like piss people off with your goals. So like they want you to fail and they're constantly like out to get you or something. Or
who?
I don't know.
What does that mean?
Just trying to get more social pressure.
Oh, okay. I think about it like it could be as simple as like when you have to turn in homework. If you don't turn it in, your teacher knows. If you don't turn it in, not that your classmates actually know, but you feel like they know. And I think you want to leverage something like that, where it's not that it's broadcasted to the entire world. If you feel like that's the next step for you, like for me, I like doing that because I like people holding me accountable.
I think with the classroom, it's like there are many other students, so there's like that conformity social pressure. So maybe something
like of that nature. Like for me, that looks like putting that on my socials. I don't have that many followers or whatever, so it's not even that many people. But one, there's a negative reinforcement, but there's also the positive reinforcement. So you don't want to get, I agree with Huberman, like you don't want to get the positive reinforcement too early before you even start. But here's my thing. If you tell someone like, I'm gonna pursue my music career, right? Like whatever, and you feel a little too happy like, not that you can't be excited, but like you feel way too fulfilled just by saying it, and they're like giving you positive reinforcement, and that's like making it even like, oh yeah, like I think there's something to reevaluate there.
Okay.
When I tell
maybe
people
you set the wrong goal or something,
because when I tell people my goals, when they're my real actual goals, I'm terrified.
Right.
I'm scared.
It's gonna be a lot of work.
And they're like, oh, that's so great, and I'm like, yeah, like I think that's what you should feel, because you're thinking about the reality as opposed to the fantasy of it.
Yeah, that's good.
And I think that's why I'm like, I don't know, I still feel there's times where I don't want to tell people my goals because I'm still trying to I'm just not ready for input right now. I'm still formulating it or whatever, but there's certain things that I've been cooking on it and I'm ready to do it. I know I'm very clear on what it is. And when I tell people, I'm scared because now I know that they're going to expect this from me.
Yeah.
But that's actually like a good thing for me because I have to deliver. And like one of those things for me is like learning French. I'm putting that everywhere because I know that if I say that, people are going to remember that. And now in any situation where I can learn more or speak in French or practice or whatever, it like forces me to learn on the spot. And I'm not like, oh my God, I'm going to learn French. Hee hee. I mean, I do say that, but I'm actually more scared than like excited in a way. So I think like just kind of putting it somewhere physical, I think is really important. Vision boarding. I know a lot of people like doing that, talking to someone, having an accountability partner, putting it online if you need to, like, because yes, you can have the negative reinforcement, but then when you're actually going through the process or documenting it or achieving it, or you meet up for lunch with somebody 2 months later and they're like, how's it going? And you're like, actually, I do have an update for you. Like, it's going well. Then that's going to be something that also keep you going, right. You know? So the whole move in silence, I'm on the fence about it.
I guess there are just some nuances to
There's
it.
nuances. I think definitely you don't want to go overboard in the excitement before you even start, but also you do need people, you need that pressure to hold you accountable to things, you know, to make it real too. Yeah. Oh, another thing, like one example is like, I've been calling myself an entrepreneur for the whole year. I have no products and I have achieved basically nothing. And I
think that's most entrepreneurs.
Yeah, that is being an entrepreneur. But like, it's weird because at first I was like, that sounds weird, but it became a habit. Where I just say like, yeah, I'm an entrepreneur. I put it I'm writing it a lot. I'm saying it more. And it's weird because now in my brain, if somebody would ask me, are you an entrepreneur? I'd be like, yeah. Like it'd almost be like roll off the tongue. And is there a whole lot that has changed from like the beginning of this year when I wasn't calling myself an entrepreneur to now? Not really. But I think mentally it became real. And I think that comes from practicing saying it. So that's why I feel like it's another good way to make it physical it's you know, just like beat the imposter syndrome, step into it before you're ready kind of thing, if you really believe that's the goal. And for me, I've been cooking on being an entrepreneur for my whole life, so I think I know that's what I want. And I just had to say it, and now I consider myself like an actual entrepreneur.
And you know, there's so many ways you could define entrepreneur. Like, I have a pretty liberal definition.
Me
just
too.
someone that starts a business is an entrepreneur. You know what I mean? So it's a pretty low bar. And if you see most entrepreneurs, you will see that the bar is indeed very low.
That is true.
And the reality of entrepreneurship is dirty. It's messy. It's not glamorous at all. It's hard. It's a lot of learning. But I mean, what you do get out of entrepreneurship is growth, especially if you allow yourself to really like continually push yourself.
Yeah.
Because again, I mean, you can also get comfortable in entrepreneurship. If you get to a certain level, it's like, oh, I'm able to pay the bills and things are working out. I don't need to grow, but I think those are even more challenging bits. But that's a tangent.
No, I think that's just like a point. Like, then the goal should be growth rather than you know. Yep. So, how has freshman year been for us?
First semester
of freshman year.
And I guess that includes both Q3 and Q4, but we're just going to talk about Q4 right now.
Yeah, because I have a whole.
So I guess I'll kind of give the short version of my Q4 goals. Like, okay, so the high level, which I kind of got kind of fun and creative with my Q4 goals, where I had like this super high level objective, which was learn and give. Yeah. And so that was just like more of a container for all my goals for this quarter. And really the purpose of that is to help me maintain a positive mindset throughout like all the volatility of just this past quarter.
Yeah.
Because it's just so much. And every time I kind of was getting kind of stressed about finances or getting stressed about like the future and the uncertainty, like kind of reminding myself or just focusing on how much I'm learning and the relationships I'm developing. And so that's like another version of giving to me. And like helping people in a sense. I guess like helping people with the content and whatnot. But anyway, these two things of learning and giving just help me stay positive or just keep me in the game, essentially. You know what I mean? And then
it's a bigger ambition, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure what to call it.
What to label it as.
Yeah, what to label it, but it's kind of like this it's like an umbrella or just like it's like the big container that holds or kind of overarches all my Q4 goals. And so each one of my goals corresponds to like each pillar of my business, which is my consulting, my content, and my community, the data entrepreneurs. So for consulting, the goal was to just ramp it up, like keep growing. And so I already mentioned it at the top of like locking down 20 hours a week of work going into Q1. For my content, it was just to keep it up. So it was basically continuing what I had done in Q3, which was like 2 pieces of content a week, posting like 5 times a week on LinkedIn, and then posting 1 to 2 times a week on TikTok and Instagram. And then for the community, it was also the same kind of thing of just keep it up.
Yeah.
And that's mainly through our community events. Just do
more.
Yeah. Well, just doing this. Actually, it was do more. Right. Like last quarter we did, I think 12 events. Crazy. Which was double what we did in Q3. So that was kind of the major goal there. And then the big one was the consulting. So I won't kind of go into everything,
right?
But I will call out one that was kind of like a highlight for me.
What?
Which was a focus on outbound marketing. So kind of the difference between inbound and outbound is that outbound is me reaching out to potential clients to, offer my services to them, while inbound is potential clients reaching out to me because they're interested in my services. So in Q3, the main focus was just the inbound coming from content. And the way I was achieving that is just making more content. In Q4, at the beginning of Q4, I set the goal to start doing outbound. And so what that could look like is applying to jobs on Upwork, doing like, warm outreach on LinkedIn, or just doing like cold outreach like via emails or whatever. And so it was getting really sweaty halfway through the quarter because it was just like quiet. Like I had no leads coming in.
It was quiet for him.
It was quiet, and I was getting worried because it's like, oh shit, like did I just like fuck this up? Did I just flop, or is this the end for me? Kind of thinking. And this is actually a theme. This happened a few times during the quarter, just just having a slow week and then getting like into this, I don't know, scarcity mindset, doomsday prepping, doomsday mindset. But anyway, so I was kind of like gung-ho. I actually made like a LinkedIn post, like hard launching my outbound campaign. But then I heard something to bring up Alex Hormozy again. Okay. He always says like, if you want to build $1 million business, you need one product, one customer, and one channel. So like one way of getting customers. That's what he means by channel. And I reflected on that and recalled like all the conversations I've had with freelancers that are ahead of me. And while they all get customers in different ways, the common thread through all of them is they all have one channel, one customer acquisition strategy, whether that's Upwork, whether that's outbound emails, whether that's referrals, whether that's content, which is what I was doing in Q3. And so like I was reflecting on that and I said, well, content's working. Why am I trying to go into uncharted territory? It's kind of like the case of the grass is greener on the other side. Yeah. So I eventually just like pretty quickly after a few days of reflecting on it, I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm not going to do outbound. I'm just going to stick to what works. I'm just going to put that energy into making more content because I don't know if the outbound's going to work for me. And I'm glad I didn't do that because the next week I got like 10 discovery calls because one of my YouTube videos went like kind of semi-viral. And so that was kind of like a big lesson for me.
You forgot that you talked to your queen and she gave you this life-changing advice.
Yeah, and that's the upside of having the accountability partner. So the outbound goals, I had apply to 40 Upwork contracts or local business reach outs or cold outreach. Another version of this was 200 LinkedIn DMs. And so I just crossed those off the list because, it just didn't make sense anymore.
Yeah.
And I feel like now I've done so many discovery calls this quarter. Like I had the goal of doing 12 and I ended up doing, I think I've done like 20 this quarter. And I feel like I've grown so much as like the consultant, or like thinking like a product manager, like thinking strategically, like being a business therapist essentially.
Yeah.
And that was the goal essentially. I knew I had to get better at this in order for it to be a viable source of income.
Right. The 20 hours was just...
it was just an excuse.
20 hours.
Yeah.
So, and also Sean doesn't want to say, but he reached 7K on YouTube.
Yeah, so that kind of goes to the point, like that video kind of went viral, and ever since then I've been growing like 100 subs a day.
Yeah,
which is pretty crazy. I mean, it'll slow down at some point,
right?
But it's still like keeping up, and at this rate I'll hit 10K by the end of the month, which is
that's gonna
mind-blowing because I was at 1K this time last year.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
and I
10X.
Like I don't know how that sounds to other people, but if you have a YouTube channel and you have even attempted to post one video, so
no, I saw someone recently, they had posted over 100 videos and they only had like a few hundred subscribers, and it's like the same industry as me, and it's like, you know what I mean? It's like it's so unpredictable, like what goes viral. Like the space of content creation can be so crazy because you can grow exponentially.
Yeah.
But it's also so unpredictable that you never know when you're going to hit that like knee in the exponential curve and start kind of going off to the races. Like people spend they'll spend 5 years just flatlining, like super slow growth until finally like hitting it.
That's good to remember. I need to remember that because my YouTube is tanking right now.
Yeah. But you kind of also were like inconsistent. It wasn't until more recently that you started like posting every week. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about my Q3. I'm going to just sum it up.
Q3 or Q4?
Q4. So the math is not.
And we're talking about calendar year too. Like people have different names for quarters.
Right. Every 3 months. That's what we're talking about. So the last 3 months of the year. Q4. Jesus Christ. Q4. God, where do I even begin? I made a whole video about this, so you can watch that for further.
I also have a video about this.
Yeah, so more detail on our separate channels you can watch. But just a high level, things went decent in Q3, and I wanted to make Q4 just like let's go in, right? Let's go in more on content. I unexpectedly in Q4, not unexpectedly, but I kind of unexpectedly left a client, my last and only client, like recurring client in Q4. So for the first month, I was still working for someone. That kind of took away a lot of time. And then I also went to Europe at the end of that month. So end of October, beginning of November.
Why'd you go to Europe?
No reason. Literally no reason. Have a whole video on that too. And it taught me a lot, so I would highly recommend you check that out. Summary though. But I went to Europe for like 8 days. I came back. I was in a slump. I was in a very hater mood. I was in a very like, rawr, I hate the world. Like everything sucks. I don't know if it was just coming back to Texas or I just hadn't been posting in a while. I just felt so frazzled and fried. Like I set all of these goals and everything was perfect. I'm a perfectionist still, recovering. And I just felt like I wasn't, because of the client and the travel and Thanksgiving and the family, like I just wasn't able to get started after my slump. I wasn't able to make any moves. And literally the last week of November is when I got my shit together. So I've only been doing my Q4 goals really for like 3 weeks.
3 weeks, yeah.
And it's felt like the longest 3 weeks of my life because I had to compress all of my goals into like 6 weeks. And I have 2 more weeks to fulfill all of them. And I am adamant, so I plan on still doing it. High level, my Q4 goals were to create a story with my content, community build, and then the last one was maintain my mental health. through like certain things like working out, journaling, reading, things like that. I did really good in the maintaining mental health category. I feel like my routine is routining for sure. My slump kind of threw me off for a little bit, but I came back to it and I was still like dressing up and reading and drinking water and all these little things. Community building, the podcast has been going well. I had to post basically every single week because I missed out on 2 months of the quarter, but things are going well with this channel in terms of posting. I mean, meeting the requirements. I wanted to have guests. I had 2 guests. So, you know, things are going well. That was a whole goal with points like episodes, clips, shorts, all that stuff underneath. And then the worst category was creating a story with my content. Actually, no, I wouldn't say the worst category. I don't know why I said that, but like for some reason I feel like I failed at it. I guess because
you weren't posting when
I wasn't posting for those 2 months, like consistently. I only got like one video up, and like, you know, I was doing well on TikTok. That's pretty habit. It's like a habit at this point, but everything else was like really sporadic. And I was even late to posting the podcast. I just felt like all over the place for the first 2 months of this quarter. So I was rushed. I really felt rushed this quarter, but I feel like it's expedited learnings. Like in just 3 weeks, I've been like compressing all of my learnings in like such a small period of time. Oh, another huge point is I was supposed to be a coach.
Right.
I was supposed to be consulting people still, and I cut that out after I left my client and went to Europe. I was like, I don't really want to be a coach at all. Like, I don't care for it. Actually, I kind of decided that at the beginning of Q4. I just didn't really like make it a thing until the end of October. And I was like, I don't want to be doing this thing. So I haven't been marketing myself as a coach since, and that's kind of been like, how am I going to make money? Like overwhelming, but I've had small gigs to keep me afloat, like really small gigs that don't feel like a lot of work. But I felt like I had a lot to focus on and not a lot of time to process. Like it was very like shock me into like posting once a week. And then I threw in Vlogmas. For some reason, Vlogmas, even though that was a stretch to throw in, it made me feel motivated to get started. I'm like, I have so much to do. I have to do it. Vlogmas is like you post.
You couldn't be comfortable.
I couldn't be comfortable anymore after getting back from Europe. So he suggested I do Vlogmas, and I thought it would challenge me to get started on like a lot of my goals and my content goals. So that went pretty well. I also was supposed to be writing blogs on Medium, and I literally only got started last week. And I'm supposed to post 6 by the end of the year. So we'll see how these go. But I think I will hit more than I thought I would hit. So I think that's good. And one huge theme I realized was the thing we were talking about today. It's not about the outcome. Because I think I was in that slump because I was like, outcome. I'm not posting, so I'm not going to get to the outcome. I'm not posting, so I'm not going to become who I want to become. And like it had nothing to do with that, because it was like a night me and him were having pasta and just chilling. And I finally took a break and just stopped trying to be frantic, that I realized I'm like, oh, everything I want to do, I'm already doing it for fun. So why am I trying to get to some goal, or why am I trying to get to this X thing when I already have all the things that I would want in my life? The only difference between my life now and some future version of my life is that I have money to afford it. That's all.
I think that's something I feel like I consistently am battling now, is like, you know, right now, since we're living off savings, it's like unsettling. You know? But if you were to just like narrow the scope and just focus on the present, like the here and now, we are living our dream life.
I know.
You know what I mean? We're doing everything we want to do. It's only when I allow those like distractions of like, oh, in 5 months we're not gonna have money to pay the bills. But it's like life is gonna be so different. 5 months ago I was working at Toyota. You know what I mean? 5 months ago I was like so far behind where I am today. So you can't even imagine where you're going to be we can't even imagine where we're going to be in 5 months, because we're kind of consistently putting ourselves under pressure and in growing and learning and pushing ourselves. And so it's almost like a discipline to stay present, and not let the distraction of anxiety or like financial insecurity or whatever. It's like, we're good right now. And when it does become a problem, then you can solve it. But right now, it's not a problem.
So don't make it a problem.
The only problem is you distracting yourself and kind of taking away precious attention and time that can be used in a positive direction to be worrying and thinking about a imaginary future.
Exactly. And I think if you are in a similar situation where you're like risking it all for the life that you want, you have to narrow down the time scale. You can't think about 5 years, 10 years. One, it's discouraging. Even though we're like, oh, we got to be patient and grind it out. Nobody wants to think about doing something that doesn't work for 10 years. Nobody wants to think about that. That sucks. Yeah. So you have to think about, how am I going to get through this next week? How am I going to get through this next month? If I have enough for this next week, if it gets down to the next day, damn, then it gets down to the next day. But
that's how I think on the scale of a day. It's like one day at a time. And even when I have like the crazy busy days, I'll think in terms of AM and PM, you know?
I know.
Like I'll have to chop it up even more. But it's like just finding that right time scale with which you're not unnecessarily stressing about things that
you literally can't control. And that makes anxiety worse when you can't do anything about the situation. So just don't put that in the picture, because I had to tell him the other day, I'm like, we have to remember that our survival is meant for the dream life. We can't survive and be doing not the dream life. There's no point of surviving at that point. You know what I mean? Like, if we have decided that our intention is to build a life that we like completely love, the survival has to be going in that direction too. It can't just be survival. Like, I got to pick up a job at McDonald's so I can survive to have my dream life. That doesn't make any sense. It's in two different directions. So if we want to survive more than we want the dream life, we might as well just survive and go back to corporate or freelance again. But if we are going to be trying to build this new life, then what we're doing to survive has to be in line with that.
It has to be aligned.
It has to be aligned. And so it's really hard to do, obviously. It is hard when you have bills to pay and things are coming up, and I can't even tell people, like, when they're like, oh, how's your March or this looking? I don't know. I could be under a bridge. I literally don't know. And I think I don't think about it. I just don't think about it because I can't.
Right.
I can't.
And it doesn't serve us.
It doesn't serve us to think about the future. I have to go with the next step.
Honestly, March is in 3 months. Like, who knows what is going to like happen?
It's kind of like what we say, like when you leave corporate and you're like, your life is your own. If you're doing what you want to do, things seem so like slow. But also things happen so fast. Right. So like
you're one email away from like a new opportunity.
Exactly. Like your life can change in a moment. Like I said this when I told the story of like when I quit my job the first time, but when 6 months into me pursuing freelance for the first time in my life, I was on my last 1,000. And that's when I got a full-time job, like a full-time freelance gig on my last $1,000. And would it have served me to think about, oh, am I going to survive it? Like, you can't. You just have to keep going. Like, just shut up and keep going. If you're doing it, you're doing it. There's no like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Most people who you see like, oh, I love their life, they had this crazy life, they did things you don't want to know about. You're not ready for that conversation. So you just have to like go all in. And I'm not giving financial advice because, well, the situation we're in, I'm not going to say go for it.
Yeah, I mean,
but if it matters to you, it matters to you. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, this is like a hard decision and a very like personal decision, and it really depends on people's very specific situation.
Right.
So there's no way to give like broad advice of should you quit your job, should you go all in on entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
But I think what we're doing is just sharing our story and our journey, just in case like there are aspects of it that are helpful for other people considering a similar journey.
Right.
But like, I can't tell anyone to quit their job. Like, I can't tell anyone.
I can.
Sure, but it just really depends on that person's very unique situation. Their goals, their values, etc.
Yeah. So let's talk about Q4.
We just talked about Q4.
Let's talk about Q1.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's do that.
I have 2 new rules for myself.
Oh.
Like Dua Lipa?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't thought about Q1 at all, so.
Oh, really? Okay. I'll just give my new approach for Q1. Okay. It's how I'm adjusting my habit-based goals. Okay. Because one thing like I said, I kind of got caught up in the outcome and the outward focus of these goals and less about like what it means to me and why. Even though like that was my intention, things happen and you get caught up. So my 2 new rules for goal setting for the next quarter is making my goals things that only I can judge. I'm the only person who can judge if it's successful or not.
Okay.
I wouldn't recommend this for everyone, because sometimes, especially in the beginning, you need to like have some numerics associated with it and everything. But I want to be less obsessed with the outcome and more about the practice and the presence of the goal. And I want to enjoy the process. Like, basically, I'm already here. Like, imagine you're already at the destination. What would matter to you? Like, if you're already successful, if you're like talking Oprah level, Elon, Jeff Bezos level, like, there's not much like physical stuff that you need anymore. So you're just trying to impress yourself at that point. And I want to think in that nature. And like, I've already made it. So I already have my dream life. I've done everything to make this life where I get to wake up and have a long morning routine and blah, blah, blah. So what do I want to do now? What is important to me? What's like just for fun and just so cool? No reason. I want to do things for no reason, and kind of challenge myself to do that in a situation where people would be like, you should be worried about your next check, you know? So that's one rule. Oh, and I think that also influences the timeline. Like, I stop thinking about the timeline of things.
Okay.
And when I'm going to get it, or when it's like waiting. It's like this victim mindset of just like, when are things going to come to me? When am I going to get what I deserve? And it's less like, no, that it literally doesn't even matter. Like, it's not even the point. The point is like, I want to get better at art. I'm getting better at art. That's it. There's no, it's very simple, you know? And then I also want to make them aligned with my future self. Like, someone it kind of is the same thing, but like something I find really, really cool. And I think that sounds so stupid to talk about as like an adult. Like, I just want to do things that are cool. But I really do think when you tap into those like nonsensical, illogical goals that are just sound kind of like woo woo, that's where you start unlocking the ideas, the creativity, the lifestyle that no one ever, like, people haven't seen before, because you're like getting into the things that you find really cool. When people do things that they find so cool, you can smell it on them. Like, they're glowing. You know what I mean? And so I'm like, how cool would it be if I found everything I did insanely cool? Like, I'm no longer just doing things like, I feel like I've always in the past I've like made self-deprecating jokes like, I only had 10 subscribers, or only had, like, oh, I'm just an idiot who doesn't know how to dress or whatever. But like, what if I was doing everything that I actually found really cool? Like, I dressed really well, or even if I don't dress well, I craft every single outfit every day. That's a cool thing to do. I
learned French.
I would be impressed in myself. Like, I would blow my own mind if I could learn a language, because I'm pretty slow, if you haven't been able to tell. And it was things like that. So that's kind of like my new goals. And I'm just going to hard launch them.
Oh, you have them ready?
I have them ready.
Okay.
Because my Q4 goals are very like, literally, it's like YouTube, post once a week. Medium, post 2 times a week. TikTok, post 10. It was very like,
and it doesn't like inspire you.
Yeah, it was very like structured military war vibes.
Okay.
But this one is more like, I'm one with the earth.
Wow.
And and everybody knows that feeling. You know, when I tell you, like, you know what I'm talking about, what I'm talking about is like when you have that feeling in you, like, where you're just like, it's an intuition. It's just like this, like, you feel that. That's what I feel when I look at these goals.
I'm just gonna like just riff, because I don't.
He's about to start rapping.
But I will say, like, at a high level, structuring it for like having like 3 main goals for each pillar of my business. So like for the consulting, and like consulting could also be reinterpreted as product development, product management, because that's what I'm doing as a consultant. But that's a necessary skill set, because my goal isn't to be a consultant. My goal is to develop my own product and launch a business around that product, grow a team around that product.
Ooh.
And as a consultant, I'm kind of, you know, learning by seeing all these different like use cases and business cases and problems out there, but also I'm going through the exercise, like the the ideation phase, the stress testing of ideas, like putting in front of customers, like the software development side of it, and then the iterative process of like development and innovation.
It's crazy because it actually is very aligned. Like when you explain the things. So at first we were like, oh, consulting is just to survive. But like the more you get into it. But
obviously it's not, because I've only made $1,000 consulting this past quarter, or like the past 6 months. So I can't really sell that story anymore.
Right. So maybe the things you're learning are actually really a part of the bigger goal. So it's interesting.
So there's that, and then there's the content, and so just keep feeding it. And with YouTube growing, and then Medium growing, making about $1,000 a month from content, and then the thought has crossed my mind of like 3xing, 4xing that. And then that would kind of give enough to kind of scrape by, or at least delay that date that we run out of money. You know what I mean? So that's another option. It's like, keep pushing out content so that you don't necessarily have to make money from consulting, which I feel is better, because then I'll only take on clients and projects that really align with me, the skills I want to develop, and like where I ultimately want to go and the things that I want to achieve. Totally. And that's a better position to be in, because if you have to, like, this is something that you were kind of checking me on. Like, if like I get into this point where I'm like scarcity mindset, I start getting desperate and I just start taking like any client engagement that comes my way. It's probably not going to be aligned, and then that's only going to be that's going to be bad for both sides. It's going to be like lose-lose. Yeah, it's a lose-lose. Like, I'm not going to like it. They're not going to get as much value out of it. And so it just doesn't make sense. And it kind of goes back to that saying, like, if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. And like having that cushion, like that steady cash flow from content could potentially put me in that position to be able to do that. That
would be a great position to be in, because it's like the content is what you really love,
Well, the content, like, it allows me to learn, and I love to learn. Yeah. And I love to like explore these ideas, like
topics.
Yeah. And
it's a great thing to make money off of, because then you're like,
I'm getting paid to learn, which was like the kind of thumbnail I had for my Q4 goals.
Oh yeah.
It's like getting paid to learn 10K a month by 2024. Crazy. Not gonna happen, but it was a good thumbnail. And then the last thing is the community, which is the data entrepreneurs, and for me that really scratches the itch of relationships. And just connecting with other entrepreneurs in the space, and just like, flying out, like, we're going to go to Austin, we're going to do a meetup there and just get to meet people in person.
And they just did one in Nashville.
Yeah, we just went to Nashville. And so I think at this point, my goal would just be to like keep it up. So like do like 9 to 12 events, like the same number of events we did this quarter. And then maybe like one tactical thing is like have a strategic plan for the newsletter. Because our newsletter is kind of like shabby right now. And so having a plan for like Q2 or Q3 to have the newsletter just be a bit more valuable.
Just a little facelift.
Yeah, because right now it just promotes our events. Okay. And that's kind of like, people like that because they don't have to like be on Discord or whatever. They get notified every time we have an event, and people seem to like them. But like, it would be cool to like provide more value, like giving freelancing tips, giving like product development tips.
Your blogs even.
Yeah, so kind of like having more of a strategy, because we do have a Medium publication, which is basically a way to kind of bring blogs together on Medium, which is a blogging platform. But right now it's kind of like ad hoc. There's really no strategy there. I'm the only one contributing to it. So like trying to get more people to contribute to it. But yeah, I just got to think through that stuff and try to come up with a plan. But I guess that's kind of like the word vomit at this point of what I'm thinking for Q1.
And then season 2.
Season 2. What's coming up in season 2, Faye?
Season 2 is... I can't necessarily give you like a full update on that, because I have to like... That's what I also want to reflect on.
Yeah.
Just like I'm going to take a break from editing and everything. But I do see more guests and hopefully in person. I don't know.
One in person, maybe.
We definitely have more to talk about. Like we've been like, I think I've mentioned this before, like all of our topics are organic. Like we don't like have some kind of curriculum that we've like artificially created. Like all of
these are just topics that come up randomly throughout the week.
Literally, like the topics we talk about are things that just come up in our life and conversations we've had, and we turn it into an episode. And so there's been more cooking, obviously, and so that's going into season 2. And I'm not sure when we're gonna have like the official launch for season 2, but we're basically gonna still be filming up until forever. And I'm excited for it. I think it'll be good. Let us know if there's like anything you want to see. And
thank you for watching this this podcast and your engagement. I think the feedback and the response is like super encouraging, and more so kind of what we're saying at the top, like it's like surprising but also like exciting that people get it and they resonate with it. And so, like, you know, it's so valuable to be around like-minded people.
Yes.
I feel like that's been the secret sauce of human civilization. It's not like these one-off geniuses, but it's when a collective of like-minded people with like a shared mission, shared values get together and decide to go in a particular direction.
Yeah.
That's how we, you know, have built civilization. That's how we went to the moon. That's how we are building all the incredible things that we've built. You know?
Yeah, no, it's like I see a world, like my vision is like everybody's just doing their own fucking thing.
Yeah,
like
and it just works.
And it's working and they're getting paid for it. And it's like, just like how much happier would how much more interesting would our lives be if everybody was like just doing what they really like to do. And I always think about like college, because everybody was acting a damn fool in college, or so I thought. But like people were just being themselves, and I miss that. So yeah, I see that for people, and it's kind of infectious.
Yep.
I guess we're like
we infect
each other. And people look at us weird, and I think it's nice having somebody to be like, oh well, he. You know, I get it. Like this is kind of like our joke. And the more people taking a leap and doing something crazy, it's not going to seem so crazy. It's going to be like, oh, that's...
In retrospect, it seems obvious.
Yeah, it's weird. Like the closer we get to this life, it's like, what else would I be doing?
Yeah.
Like God forbid I had a job that I couldn't have a 2-hour morning routine with, like, and so I
just go to France for no reason.
Go to France for no reason, and like this is my personality, like this is who I am. So I would literally have to suppress that to adapt to most things. I haven't found the job where like it really allows me to do everything, all of those things. But now that I'm doing it, it's like, what? How else would I live? Like this is exactly how I want to live. So. Yeah, that's why I just got to jump off the cliff and do things for no reason, because it'll give you the reason back. Yeah. So anyway,
get paid to live, y'all.
Get paid to live, baby. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we will see you in season 2. Boom.